Greetings. I want to take this opportunity to welcome you to Global Leadership Perspective. This is a platform where we look at issues concerning leaders and leadership, and we do that from the local up to the global perspective. And for the last two recordings, we began a series where we have been looking at the kind of the culture that African leaders needs to develop, and one of the culture that we identified is the culture of work ethics, and we concluded and said that if Africa leaders can help to ensure that this culture finds its way in a strong way in the context of Africa, it can help the continent to grow and even to prosper and be able to be at par with other great countries in the world. And secondly, we mentioned the culture of technology. The world, definitely, as we all know, has gone quite technical, and everything has to do with technology. And so countries such as Africa, they need to really speed up and catch up with the entire world and come up even with modern technology in various sectors, and this will help to boost the continent at large. And so today, briefly, we want to look at the third culture that African leaders needs to develop. And I'm saying African leaders because the responsibility lies squarely on leaders. There are writers that have said that it all rises and falls on leadership. And so if things are going to move, if things are going to progress, if things are not going to be stagnant, if they're going to retrogress, then this has to do with leadership. So today we want to just focus on that aspect, and we want to say for Africa to progress, we need the culture of the law. When we talk about the law, basically, and without going even into a lot of jargons and a lot of stories, this is just basically we need a continent that has leaders that are there to develop the culture whereby the people can follow the law to its letter. People can keep the law to its letter. This is what really can help a country to grow. Have you ever asked yourself perhaps why we have recurrent coup in part of West Africa? Of course, there are many reasons why this is happening, and there are many write-ups, there are many conversation where this is concerned. But I was trying to look at these issues. I realized one of the reasons why we have a recurrent coup in part of West Africa is because of ethnic fractionalization. And as we know, Africa is very diverse and completely diverse, and that is an advantage. It is not a weakness. The only thing that the kind of the leadership we have always capitalized on it, and to always ensure that negative ethnicity, negative energies are coming out of this good thing that we would needed to use to develop ourselves as people of Africa. So that is one. Number two, the aspect of lack of economic progress. This is what has always triggered the issue of coup in this part of the world, Africa. And the last one, which is quite a serious one, is military dominance. And because of military dominance, so there tend to be reluctancy in terms of democracy, and so the military will always want to intervene and interject, and as you all know, this is always intertwined with politics, and so it's always difficult to solve this kind of matrix, because military dominance is always an issue. And it's just like, for example, In the world, we have countries that either before in history or currently, they've been perceived or appeared to be police state, or countries that really affront the aspect of policing. And that has, of course, a negative denotation. And so if military is always there, its presence is always there, then this coup definitely bound to happen in one way or the other. Of course, there are many other reasons, but I think those three, in my own view, come out to be quite dominant. And so I think when we are talking about the law, then this we are talking about democratic countries. And democratic countries, they are countries who are governed by the law. There is the constitution in place, and the constitution is there to bring order and sanity, to define clearly how the governance is conducted, and how the business and the conduct of the government are going to be carried out. And so this is a subject that really goes back to the constitution, because most countries are democratic, and so they have in place the rules, the constitution that is guiding them. And so we are supposed to keep this kind of rules, to implement them. Though I recognize one of the things that we are good as Africa, and especially to a few countries, because of the exposure and education, we're very good in formulating. We can formulate good laws, we can formulate good papers, but at the end of the day, the problem comes in implementing, in executing the kind of the policies that has been enacted or formulated by the parliament, like in most countries. So that becomes a real challenge. And if you just have law on paper and you're not practicing it, then there's no value in it. And that's why in a democracy we have arms that are there to enforce the law, to ensure that the law is followed. And that's why we have the police in place who ensures that the law is completely followed. And in Africa, you realize that the leaders we have in place, especially the political leaders, they tend to appear, or the way they behave and conduct themselves, we look at them, or they are looked at as people who are above the law. People who, yes, they are there to enact those laws in parliament, but at the end of the day, when it comes to living out the law, they don't really follow the law, and they want to be above the law. That's why when they found themselves, for example, in problems such as corruption, or when they find themselves having committed offense, they find a way of circumventing around the law to so as to bend it, and so that they are not punished by the law. And so this has always become a trend in most of the countries in Africa, and this has always been a disadvantage to the continent, because it does not help the continent to grow, because the law will bring order. The law will bring order. I know there are some countries, for example, like currently in Kenya, we say we want to pray, God to put things in place as a country. It is good to pray, and we need to pray. But at the end of the day, we cannot live in disarray. We cannot live disorganized. We have to ensure that the law is followed, that the law is enforced, and there are no people that are above the law, because if this happen, then everybody will not want to follow the law. So our leaders have to serve as good model where this is concerned. Let us see them following the law, and we need to borrow from countries that are developed. like in Europe, strong democratic countries such as Germany, whereby if the law finds you on the wrong, there is no even a politician who's going to help you, or there is no those kind of strong contacts you have that are going to help you. You're just going to face the consequences, and this is without favor. This is without anything that will make you to escape. And so if we can adapt this kind of culture, I believe many things are going to be sorted out where Africa is concerned, because the countries, yes, the behavior and the attitude of leaders themselves, they don't want to follow the law. They are living like they're above the law, and this is not helping us. So what will the citizens do? What will the other people do? The politicians, they enact them, but they want to live as if they are small gods here on earth, whereby the law is made for the people who are petty offenders. But for people who are big offenders, then because they have money and resources, they find their way out. And that's why justice in most of the countries in Africa is not served, rather it is bought. If you have money, it doesn't matter. If you are the offender, you will have your way out. And if you do not have money and you are the victim, then you're going to face the music, or you're not going to get justice. So I think we just need to decide as a continent. We just need to decide as these good countries and say, you know what, let us live to the spirit of democracy, and let us live to the letter and to the spirit of the constitutions we have in place, so that law can be enforced and we can live it out. This will bring a lot of sanity and a lot of order within our countries, and these countries will prosper, they will grow, so that people know if you do the right thing, then you're going to be in good books with the country or with the law. But if you do the wrong thing, you will not escape. You will be found, if you're found culpable, then you're going to be punished as per the law. And I think this, in my own view, can help us to grow and to prosper as Africa. Otherwise, this thing of wanting to live the way we want, wanting our money to speak for us and to get us justice, it is not going to help us. There is no posterity in such. So I pray that the leaders in place, the presidents and all other leaders, political leaders, the religious leaders, they will really work hard to ensure that this is happening. This will help us. This will grow Africa. This will make Africa to progress, and unnecessary things will be rooted out. So it is important if we can develop that culture of following the law and abiding by the law of the land, and that can really help us. So the Lord bless all the African countries, and the Lord bless Africa as a continent. And I pray that these kind of things will begin to come out, and leaders will begin to provide kind of leadership that will outlive them, by encouraging people to follow the law and to live the law by, first and foremost, doing it, living out themselves as a model, as an example. The King bless you. Enjoy your time.